Welcome back to another episode of Passing Me Podcast. My name is Dominic, and I'm of course joined by my co-host Aaron. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited to get into this episode. Of course, we've got a lot to discuss this week. With a lot of the news breaking over the international break regarding the England managerial role. And yeah, we're gonna get straight into it. Obviously, it came out yesterday. I believe it was official
Yeah,
that Thomas Tuchel will be taking charge of the England job in January of 2025. And there's been a lot of mixed reactions from different people in the media
yeah,
so far. So yeah, bro, what are your thoughts initially on this appointment?
yeah. I love Tuchel, man. I think he's a great coach. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, especially the fact that England want to win. Obviously, as any nation wants to win, but like, I feel like for knockout football, he's. I don't think there's barely a better manager you could get for knockout football. Like he's suited to it great. Like his not. I don't want to say unique selling point because it's not his only good thing, but one of his like key traits is that he's great at adapting to opposition tactically and also in game making changes to like neutralize the opposition. And yeah, I think this is like the perfect fit for knockout football.
Yeah, no, I think it's I mean, England have clearly looked at kind of the Gareth Southgate tenure, where I mean, to his credit, he did do well. You know,
Yeah,
he had his critics, obviously, in terms of getting England over the line in the big games. Sometimes, tactically, he wasn't really up to scratch with some of the opposition. In terms of getting England through that last stage, you know, two finals, he made back to back Euros and then semi final in the World Cup. But when he came up against those teams that had a bit more quality, he couldn't really make up for that with in terms of tactical nous. And I think the FA have clearly looked at that and gone with, you know, someone who has that capability tactically. And yeah, I think it's a good appointment, to be honest. It's the best manager probably available right now that they could go out and get. Um, and yeah, I mean it'll be an interesting one to see how he picks his teams going forward, because obviously he's not looking at it through the same lens as Southgate, where Southgate was obviously at times kind of criticised for being a bit too biased towards players playing in England. We have to see kind of the view Tuchel takes for some of these players. But what do you think about some of the backlash England have got about whether the manager needs to be an English coach, you know, for the England national team? Because it's been a hot topic.
yeah,
A lot of people saying that it doesn't really matter. England need to win, and we need a coach who can who can do that, who can offer that. And a lot of people are saying, nah, you know, we have to stay with our roots,
yeah.
English, Britannia, all that. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Bro, for me, it's just I don't know. I think it's silly because it's like there's not that many good English managers. Like I feel like compared to other nations, like if you look at, for example, let's go through Italy, for example, right? Italy won the Euros in 2021 with Mancini. Mancini's a pretty proven manager. I'm pretty sure he was at Inter beforehand, then City,
Yeah,
and he's got the proven track record. Like everyone knows Mancini. Then just now at the last Euros, they had I think Spalletti, who just won the
yeah,
Serie A with Napoli. So it's like these are managers that have you know they've they've shown the excellence in their field before, right? If you look at Spain, Spain have got they had Enrique before. Now they've got De La Fuente, who had worked his way up through like the academy teams and stuff in Spain. Um, there's also like in terms of general Spanish managers, there's Xabi Alonso, Pep Guardiola, there's Iraola at
yeah,
Bournemouth. Like there's a lot of different managers just dotted around. Even with Italy, sorry, there's De Zerbi, for example, who's
yeah,
at Marseille. Germany, there's Nagelsmann, there's Tuchel, there's I think Hoeneß is German, isn't
yeah,
he? Yeah.
yeah,
There's so many like for each nation, it's like they have so much to choose from. If you look at actually England managers who you think would, if you look at it and think, is this manager ready for the England job? The only ones you could really say is probably like Graham Potter and Eddie Howe.
yeah,
And I feel like because that's the level you're dealing at. I think Howe is the better out of the two, but like that's the level you're at. And Howe gonna leave Newcastle? I personally don't think he would leave Newcastle for England, innit? But even if he would, like that's the absolute best that they can get, right? And I feel like if that's not possible, you're dropping a whole level, like in terms of the next manager you're gonna get for the sake of it, like just being an English manager. Obviously, it's nice to have your own manager, your own countryman managing your nation. But you know, I feel like it's a bit silly to sort of, I guess, criticize or like frown upon Tuchel, who's like a great proven Champions League winning manager, just because you want someone English. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. But and I agree, to be honest. I don't think it's that big of a deal, the England manager not being English. But I mean, listen to some of the arguments, and you can't really go against the kind of track record. If you look at it, no foreign manager has ever won the World Cup, and only one foreign manager has won the Euros, and that was when Greece won in 2008, 2004. So the track record is kind of there to point to the fact that managers from their home nations tend to do quite better. Can tend to do better for their national teams. And I don't know, it's a weird one, because as you say, the pool for England to really pick from in terms of managerial candidates is not that great. It doesn't stack up against the likes of, I don't know, even like Portugal have a good selection of managers. I know they don't have a Portuguese manager now, but they do have a good selection of managers. France, Italy, Spain, as you mentioned. But I mean, if you go back and look through some of the managers who have won World Cups, like Joachim Löw, for example, won the World Cup with Germany 2014. He was an assistant manager before that and didn't really have a club managerial career before taking over the job for Germany. De La Fuente, as you mentioned as well, under 21s manager. I know he's gone through the ranks at Spain. I think it was under 17s, under 19s, and then under 21s before moving into the first team. Someone like Scaloni at Argentina hasn't really had that kind of pedigree at club level before moving into an international job, and he's gone on to win 2 Copa Americas and a World Cup. So I think that does speak to maybe it not being, maybe the kind of tactical aspects in international football not being the biggest factor. I do feel like there's a lot in terms of how you kind of harmonize a squad, how you deal with the media, how you kind of bring the nation together and get the players playing. I don't think it's necessarily just all on the tactical side. So I think that's an interesting argument in terms of a counterpoint. But at the same time, I think with where England are at now, you know, they've been so close on 2 occasions, and with this kind of golden generation, I guess you want to call it, coming through, I guess they're kind of seeing it, the FA are kind of seeing it as like a win now situation. You know,
Yeah.
Tuchel's got the contract, I think it's 18 months up until the 2026 World Cup. And he's already said that his goal is to put a second star on the badge. He wants to bring football home, if you will. So I don't know, it's an interesting one, but I don't think the decision to go foreign is necessarily a bad one. I mean, England have done it in the past with Sven and Capello. It didn't really work out too well, but those England sides weren't bad. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't terrible. So I don't know. I think it's kind of a bit of an overreaction, to be honest, from some people. I don't think it's really that big of a deal that the manager is English, or is not English. Sorry, but I think them going foreign does say a lot about the current managers in the English game. You know, England have invested recently in the last couple of years on things like St. George's Park with the FA to kind of create that pathway to kind of build up managers and give them a place so that they can learn and develop and improve before going into the world of management. And I don't know, hiring a foreign manager is kind of a slap in the face to that whole system. You know, if you're a young English manager and you look at that appointment now, I can see why you might feel a bit disappointed maybe that they haven't gone with someone English. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is my problem, right? And it comes back to that whole thing about the coaching and the FA, right? So I saw a tweet earlier, and I personally did I completed half of my UAFC. I didn't actually ever finish my UAFC because obviously I had to move between different locations. Now I'm back in Luton, but before I was in Leeds, so things like that. But yeah, with the actual UAFC itself, it costs 650 to complete. And that's like just the first stage after the free one, which is the level 1, which is like you can do it like within a day. It's not that hard. But the UAFC 650. I'm not sure exactly how much the UEFA B is, but it's in the thousands.
Yeah.
And then the UEFA A, which is like like for top level coaches, like Premier League standard.
Yeah.
That's like 13k to do, right?
It's ridiculous.
And when you compare £13,700, right? in Spain it's 2,000 euros, right? And there's 2,200 Spanish pro licensed coaches in Spain, and there's only 200 in England. So
Wow.
that's, you can see, obviously, you'd want an English coach, right? And obviously, I understand like they're investing in English coaching and the FA are working towards that, but it's not accessible enough right now. I feel like it's so, I feel like it's so much like. Obviously, I don't want to be that guy to always complain, but it's like I feel like it's so much like heavily in like leaning in favor of ex pros, and I feel like it's just kind of like almost like a nepotism type thing where like if like you look at Gerrard, for example, or Rooney, or Lampard, or even Jack Wilshere. Jack Wilshere, I'm pretty sure today is getting a first team coach job. Not, I don't think it's head coach. I think it's just a coach joining Norwich.
Yeah,
but
I saw
before he
that.
was given the Arsenal. Can't remember if it was under 18s.
Under 18s, yeah,
he was
led them.
given that job, and like I don't know. I just feel like, not disrespect to Jack Wilshere, not that he's a bad coach or whatever. Like I'm not gonna diss him, but I feel like there could be a coach like who's grinding out in like League Two, for example, who's really like ready to make that next step. And
Deserves
Arsenal,
opportunity.
yeah, and under 18s at Arsenal could have been the next thing, and then from there he could have gone to like an under 23s at like Fulham, and then you could have got a head coach at Everton type thing. Do you know what I mean? But it feels like because it's Jack Wilshere, because he used to play for Arsenal, because he's an ex-pro, he's just been fast tracked into that role type thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It just, to me, it feels like that's just a common theme with a lot of ex-pros. It's a problem in every country. It's not just England, but I feel like in England specifically, it's very much limited and it's not as accessible as it should be for just general coaches who don't have a history of playing football at the top level. So I feel like that kind of just, I don't know. I understand, obviously, I understand how you'd feel as an English coach if you're thinking, I could have gone for that job type thing. But at the same time, it's kind of like, how much, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an interesting one. You mentioned, obviously, the ex-pros. We've seen the likes of Rooney, Gerrard, Lampard, all kind of thrown into top managerial jobs in this country. And I don't believe any of them kind of really spent time at St. George's Park.
Yeah, they didn't do their 3 years. It's in this tweet. It says, well, the tweet is alleging that they went because they got money, right? Obviously, they got a salary at these teams like Rangers and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, in other countries, obviously, they have, how we have the St. George's Park. In other countries, they have, like, you have to do certain courses and, like, your thesis. You have to do all that stuff. But, yeah, go on, sorry.
Yeah, no, and, like, if you look at other countries as well, when they have their kind of, like, football infrastructures where the coaches come,
Yeah.
You notice that if you look at Spain, for example, and you look at their managers, they all kind of have a similar style of playing. And it's because in these places, in these camps where they're all working together, they're working on their theories and their theses together. They're bouncing off ideas from each other and they're improving and they're becoming better coaches all together. Whereas, I mean, if you look at Rooney, Lampard, Gerrard, they've all got 3 different kind of coaching philosophies. And could you even really tell me their coaching philosophies based off the jobs that they've done?
Yeah.
It's not too consistent. There's not really a English way of playing, for example, and that's been a problem in this country for a long time in terms of the coaches, and in terms of the national team. And I think that kind of allowing these ex-pros to fast track without going through St. George's Park kind of defeats the whole purpose of it. Do you know what I mean? You've created this environment where these things can happen, where coaches can learn, they can develop, they can improve.
Yeah.
But you're kind of saying, okay, well, if you're an ex-professional, you've done it at the top level of the game, you don't need none of that. You can just cut through. Do you know what I mean? And take a top job. Whereas, even in other countries where they have to, or where ex-pros do go into top jobs, they do still have to study in these places before they can get the qualification to go into a top job. So I don't know. It's an interesting one, and I feel like really this whole discussion's kind of highlighted the fact that St. George's Park and the whole thing with the FA and the coaching scheme kind of has to be, I don't know if I want to say reworked, but I don't know, maybe reworked, reconsidered, if you will, to kind of make it more a thing that everybody has to do to give everybody a fair chance. Because as you said, there could be a coach who's working in League Two, who, the job at Arsenal under 18s could have been the best next step for them. They could have deserved that opportunity, and they might not get it. You know what I'm saying? And that could be depriving England of a great coach, for example. And even you mentioned the pricing. I know that a lot a lot of coaches. Someone I actually went to uni with he would take regular trips to Wales to do his coachings with the Welsh FA just because of how expensive it was in this country.
Yeah.
Like it was cheaper for him to go to Wales and do the coaching over there and get the qualification over there than to just do it here, which I think is, I mean, it's crazy. So
Yeah. I think that's quite ridiculous actually. 13,000 is actually crazy because, like, say you're a part-time coach and you have a job. Let's say you're a teacher, for example, and you're earning like 30k. You have to pay 13,000 to do your coaching license. Like, how are you ever gonna?
how
like,
you survive? Like,
yeah, like it does. It's actually so. It's ridiculous. Honestly, it's ridiculous, man. But yeah, I don't know. Onto the next though. With England, right? So we had a little task. We had a little task to do. So what we did is we put together our 26-man squad, right? Do you want to go first?
Nah, I'll let you talk. I'll let you run it first.
Alright. So we got a 26-man squad, and then I haven't created a starting 11, but I have an idea of what mine would look like. Because obviously, starting 11 you change like depending on the game or the opposition and things like that. But for me, I've got in goal, so I've got 3 keepers. Obviously, I've got Dean Henderson, James Trafford, and Jordan Pickford. Right. In defence, I've got Trent, Lewis Hall, Tyreek Mitchell, Rico Lewis, John Stones, Ezri Konsa, Jared Bramthwaite, Mark Gahey, and Levi Cole.
I'm gonna just stop you there to kind of so you can talk through some of these inclusions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't really have to talk too much about the keepers because I mean, who would you start? Probably Pickford, right?
I'll probably go Pickford.
Yeah, but I mean, James Trafford, an interesting inclusion. Obviously, done well for the under-21s. Probably wouldn't see too much game time anyway. But I mean, in defence, you've got Tyreek Mitchell in there. I believe he's been called up to a camp before. I think yeah, he's got
called up and
he's got a cap.
cap.
Yeah, he's got a cap. Yeah, what's your thinking behind bringing him? Is it just the lack of options at left back?
Underrated left back, bro. Lockdown defender, bro. Very, very underrated left back. I feel like there's certain games and certain scenarios where you'd want to play him. For example, let's say you got Spain. I'd put him against Yamal rather than like a Trent or a Rico Lewis or a Lewis Hall, or even probably rather than a centre back. Not gonna lie, because centre backs in wide areas can be a bit different. But yeah, I'd probably put Tyreek Mitchell. Like I feel like it's good. I probably wouldn't start him, but I think it's good to just have that option there. Especially for tournament football, you never know what you might need. So yeah, I'd go for him. I think the centre backs. Well, talk me through your centre backs and your keepers. I feel like we had a bit similar, but there was some differences.
Yeah, so I mean, in goal it's largely the same. Pickford, Pope. I've got Pope instead of Trafford, and Henderson. I don't know. I just kind of threw Pope in there because of experience. He's been in and around the camp for a while. If I was in charge, he's not really playing. There's Pickford in goal anyway. Yeah. Then my defenders, I've got Trent, Lewis Hall, Rico Lewis, John Stones, Harry Maguire, Levi Colwill, Tomori, Ezri Konsa, and Jared Bramthwaite.
So
at the back.
So with I think the key differences we have is Maguire and Tomori.
Yeah.
So we start with Tomori. What was your
my reasoning?
Yeah, your reasoning.
I mean, for me, I just feel like it's kind of crazy that he's not had a chance really for England. I mean, I think he's been called up a couple of times. I had a couple caps here and there, but I mean, especially when AC Milan won the league and he was very important part of that of that defensive unit.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he hasn't had any more caps. I feel like as a defender as well, he's kind of a different type of profile to what England have. He's got that pace, that recovery pace, and someone like Maguire, for example, even John Stones, they don't really have that. So I feel like it's a good balance there.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I mean, I feel like he should get the opportunity at least to show what he can do in an England shirt, because I feel like that's someone that, I mean, give him a couple games to kind of blend in and gel in. Do you know what I mean? He could look like someone that's meant to be there, someone that's been there for, someone that looks like he's been there for a long time. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like, I just feel like it makes sense for him to be there, to be honest. And then who else was the difference? Maguire,
and I think you didn't have Gahey.
Yeah, I didn't have Gahey. I mean, Gahey's unlucky to miss out because I mean he was solid at Euros. To be fair, the only reason I've kind of got Maguire in there is just for the experience, and he does have a good track record with
Yeah,
England. I mean, a lot of people kind of say what you want about him for Man United or whatever, but for England, he's been solid, and him and John Stones have a really good partnership in defence.
Yeah.
And for me, to be honest, I think that would still be my starting two centre backs.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, for most games, they've got that track record, that chemistry together. Why, like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
Fair enough.
Alright.
What about the midfield? You continue with the midfield. Let's
Alright.
see what you got.
In midfield, I've got Declan Rice, Kobbie Mainoo, Conor Gallagher, Angel Gomez, and then Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Cole Palmer, and Jack Grealish.
Solid. I think
Who you
mine's similar. I think I've got Rice, I've got Mainoo, I've got Barkley. I think that's the main difference. I've got Angel Gomez, Gallagher, Bellingham, Foden, Palmer, and Grealish.
All right, talk to me about Barkley then. Why has he made the cut?
For me, I can't lie, I haven't watched a lot of him since he's joined Villa. But for me, especially when he was at Luton, I feel like he gives you an insurance policy. Like, I feel like I probably wouldn't start him. I wouldn't play him alongside Rice. But I feel like just to have that backup six there, just in case, like, I would trust him being the one who has to, like, organize things and sort of, like, not run the game himself, but, like, be the one play those passes into, like, your attacking midfielders, or be the one who's, you know, being press resistant and, like, relieving pressure and things like that. I trust him as the option, rather than, for example, say Rice wasn't able to play, either suspension or injury or whatever. The alternatives would be Mainoo and Angel Gomez. I'd probably trust Barkley more as the, like, priority, as the primary holding midfielder, and then have the other two as the second midfielder. That's how I think it. So yeah, I don't think I wouldn't play him, but I think if I needed to rely on him, I feel like I could. I thought about players like Hayden Hackney. That was a big one.
Oh,
I really
yeah.
thought about. Yeah, Hayden Hackney, Tommy Doyle, Archie Gray, and Tyler Morton. Those are the four that I was thinking about. But
I think it's a bit early for those.
yeah,
four, though.
So I settled on Barkley. I feel like that's the one for
I don't
me.
know. Barkley's an interesting one. I mean, I hear your reasoning, but I feel like, kind of for what you're looking for in terms of that press resistance, someone that can relieve pressure, someone that can execute those passes, get the ball into their attacking midfielders. I feel like you have that with Mainoo and with Gomez. Yeah. So, and especially Gomez, I think. I mean, he's a high touch player, high volume passer. Do you know what I'm saying? And he's someone who can get it and give it. If you watch him for England, a lot of his actions, or even for Lille, a lot of his actions are within 3-4 touches. Get the ball, give it, get it back, give it again. Even his assist for the goal, for Grealish's goal against Finland.
Brilliant.
In the tight spaces, it's 3 touches, sets Grealish through, and he scores.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like if you've got Mainoo and Gomez kind of rotating in those positions next to Rice, you don't necessarily need Barkley in there. I don't see where he really gets the minutes. I kind of hear what you're saying in terms of if Rice is suspended, and you need someone in there to kind of organize in those deeper midfield positions. But I don't know. I feel like I mean, I'm hoping that Rice is available the whole time, to be honest, because the drop off from him is massive.
Yeah.
But if he is to be out, I feel like you might have to just throw in Gallagher there, because he's got that. He's got the coverage in terms of covering ground, in terms of being strong in duels. He gets about, he's busy. And then if you partner him with someone like, I'd probably, if you're gonna play Gallagher, I'd probably partner him. If you're gonna start him, I'd probably partner him with Angel Gomez, just because he's better, kind of more high volume passer than someone like Mainoo or Barkley. But yeah, I feel like when you have Mainoo and Gomez in there, there's not really the need for Barkley, and then Gallagher can kind of fill the Rice role. As I said, I mean, it's a massive drop off, so you've got to hope that Rice stays fit. But yeah, I don't know.
Onto the attack then, I guess.
Yeah, I'll let you lead for the attackers.
Yeah, so I've got Saka, Rashford, Watkins, Kane, and Anthony Gordon. I think ours is pretty similar.
Yeah, I've got Rashford, Saka, Anthony Gordon, Madueke, Kane, and Watkins.
Okay, yeah. So what's your reason for Madueke?
So basically, it kind of stems from some of the other picks. So for me, for England anyway, I think Palmer and Foden need to be playing in the 10 positions if they're gonna play. I don't think, from what we've seen anyway, Foden out wide for England, it doesn't really work. He's not used the same whereas he is for City, and he's not. He's not really that effective in games. I think if you're gonna get the best out of him for England, it's probably in that 10 position. I think the same for Palmer. Obviously, you've seen less of him in those positions in the wide areas for England, but I do think he's more of a natural number 10 anyway. So I think in terms of a backup right wing option, you've got Madueke there, and I think he's someone that, I mean, even if you wanted to argue that, even if you wanted to argue that Foden and Palmer can fill that position on the right, I think Madueke just offers you something different. I think he provides more of that wing play in terms of getting at your man, taking him on, going to the byline, putting in a cross, or even cutting in, shooting on his left. And yeah, he's got more of that physicality in terms of pace and power. And obviously he's good technically as well. So I think in terms of a backup option for Saka, I think he's a solid pick still. So yeah.
Fair enough. I think my way of thinking about it was, I was having Palmer as the backup right winger.
Really?
So, yeah. So I also agree with you. I think, I don't know, it's changed since last week, which is funny, but I also think Foden and Palmer, I don't think they can start unless it's going to be in that number 10 role. So I think that needs to be something. That's something that's going to have to get reworked. Unless you're saying different formation, let's just say 3 at the back and stuff like that, then that's a different conversation.
Allow all the 3 at
but
the back.
yeah. But yeah, for me, I feel like, I don't know, I think Palmer and Foden. Well, I mean, I guess you can get into it now with your starting 11. What your starting 11 would look like. I feel like, for me, I'd start Grealish.
You start Grealish?
Yeah, I'm starting Grealish on the left. I think Grealish, especially recently, has kind of like, I don't know, I just kind of had a realization. Like, I was like, Foden, I think he had one good game at the Euros against Holland. I think he had a good game before the Euros against Belgium. Other than that, I haven't seen him play like a good game for England this whole 2024. And I feel like Grealish has played 3 games on the Kazi and has been good in all 3.
Yeah, he's been very good.
And I feel like he's played centrally as a number 10. He's played on the left, like he's played on the left, like drifting inside, but also like staying outside. Like he's done all of them, and I feel like he's been good at all of them. I feel like Grealish on the left, I'd probably go Jude in the 10. I think if Foden wants to start or Palmer wants to start, I think they have to battle him for that spot. Like if that means Jude drops back to play next to Rice or whatever, but I think that's the most effective way to have them playing is if they're playing in the 10. Otherwise, I don't think it's really worth it. And then I have Saka on the right, and I'd stick with Kane up front. I know I've been critical of Kane, but I think I'm sticking with Kane up front because, you know, goals, like he'll score regardless. He will score. So yeah, that's what I think I'll go for. What would you go for?
Fair enough. I wouldn't really do a 4-2-3-1. I'd have more of a 4-3-3.
Really? Okay.
To be honest, yeah. I'd have Rice, obviously deepest midfielder. I'd have Bellingham and Palmer kind of as 8s, but I'd have Palmer the more advanced, and Bellingham more as like a box to box. I don't know. I feel like people forget that Bellingham can play in deeper positions. Like, he's not just a number 10. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Since he's gone to Real Madrid, and obviously he's been playing in that position, playing advanced, he's been getting goals and assists. I feel like people have forgotten that, you know, what he really made his name off at Birmingham and at Dortmund was being this all-action midfielder. Do you know what I mean? Up and down, box to box. And yeah, I feel like there's no reason why he can't do that for England. I feel like I do kind of hear some of the concerns that people say in terms of in the first phase. And I know, obviously, if you're picking someone to play next to Rice isn't the most dominant in terms of first phase, like progression of the ball. So you probably want someone who can pick it up and progress it next to him. But I feel like if you're playing with Trent, you know, you can kind of have him do that and cover for that progression on that side, kind of in at times coming into midfield or just being kind of free in that right channel. Do you know what I mean? From deep progressing play. So I'd have Bellingham and Palmer, Bellingham a bit deeper, Palmer a bit more advanced. And then I'd have Saka on the right. I think Saka has to start for England. He's their most consistent attacker at this point. I think that's non-negotiable. I'd actually have Rashford on the left. I know we both picked him, which I don't know if a lot of people would pick Rashford nowadays in terms of the form that he's in. But for me, I just don't think England have a winger like Rashford. And I mean, if you look at his record for England, I think it's like 17 goals and 6 assists, which is the most out of any of England's attackers other than Harry Kane. If you put all the goals and assists together,
Yep.
so I mean, he's proven that he can do it for England. He's got the threat in behind. He can go at his man. He's a good finisher. And I think he just gives England more of that goal threat when going forward. I think, there's not really anyone in the squad that can replicate that, you know. Anthony Gordon's a great player, but he doesn't really have that same kind of, I don't know, decisiveness or ruthlessness in the final third that I think Rashford has. Not yet, anyway. So I think for now I'm sticking with Rashford on the left. And then between Kane and Watkins, it's a difficult one for me because I think Kane's time for England is coming to an end, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to see that guy up front for England for too many more games. But nah, you know what? Yeah, I'm putting Watkins up front. You know,
Really?
Yeah, man. Give me them channel runs. Watkins is a solid player. He can do the all-round game as a centre forward as well. Even holding up the ball, giving it off to the midfielders deeper, and his movement as well, I think, is a lot better than Kane's. Kane now is someone that, because I think he's lost that physicality that he had in his game. I don't know, if you can't really get him the ball in the box where he can have a shot, he's not even really someone that can kind of rough up the centre backs or
that's been my biggest problem.
create separation for like his own shots anymore. I feel like Watkins is just more mobile, more of a all-round centre forward in today's state of play. So I'd have a Watkins up front over Kane.
For sure. What about the defenders? For me, I'm starting Trent, definitely.
Yeah.
Start Trent right back. I think it depends on the opposition. So against like harder teams, I change it up. But from the jump, like let's say your standard match against, I don't know, whoever England played. Normally, I think the opposition level is pretty much kind of similar at the start.
Yeah.
I'd go Trent right back. I'm going Rico Lewis left back. This is going to be crazy. This is going to be crazy. I think I'm going to go Gahey and Levi Cole.
Gay and Cole. So no Stones or Maguire. Getting the elder statesman out of that.
Yeah, bro. I'm not trying to hear that, man. We're done with the 90s. We're done. Nah, I can't lie. I think I would have usually just gone Stones and Gahey, but I think Stones in 2024 has taken a huge hit. I can't lie. I think he's declined like crazy, and it's been evident at like every opportunity. I think every time there's been a chance for him to like show his quality, or like show like it's just like rhythm, or he's not really like up to scratch, or like he just needs a bit more match sharpness. It's been proven that it's not match sharpness. He's actually declined.
You think he's done?
Yeah. So like there was one. I think the first time I really noticed it was Chelsea semi-final FA Cup, and Nico Jackson just cooked him. Like it was.
Last season.
Was bad. Yeah, and he got hooked at half time. I think Diaz had to come on because it was just he couldn't. Like Jackson obviously he cooks defend. Like he's given Saliba a tough time.
Yeah.
At the Emirates, but still like it was like nothing you've seen before. Like Stones didn't look like he could physically keep up with it. Like he just didn't look the same as he used to. Like literally a season before. Then obviously in the FA Cup final, I think it was awful in the FA Cup final, and then again at the Euros, he made a mistake for one of the goals in the knockout stages. But throughout the Euros, I just didn't feel like he had that same like sort of grit about him that he's rediscovered since like 2019 to like 2023, and it just felt like Gahey was always better. And I don't know, I feel like now throughout this season, if you've seen him for City, like I feel like it's kind of just the same thing. Like he doesn't physically. I think on the ball, he's still got that. He's still got the body manipulation. He can carry the ball. He can pass the ball. He's still got all of that. But I feel like physically, him not being as like reliable or like as sturdy as I want my centre back to be, I feel like it just means that in turn, defensively, he starts to make more mistakes because he's a bit more flimsy. And I don't know. I feel like in international ball, sometimes you just need a bit more of that grit. And Colwell has been pretty good this season, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I think his ball playing is probably
it's
the
top.
best in the team. So, like, I don't know. I feel like that would be I'd go Colwell and Gay probably.
Fair enough. I can't lie. Earlier I said Maguire and Stones run it back, but I don't know. You kind of swayed me with that from Stones. You know, I know John Stones looking awfully like Johnny Pebbles right now. So I'd probably go. I think Tomori.
Yeah.
I think I'll start Tomori.
That's
in
fair.
that right centre back slot next to Trent. Yeah, Trent's starting obviously for me, because I think obviously with Trent pushing up, I think you need someone at centre back who can defend in those wide areas in the channels,
Mm.
cover those spaces, large grounds, and obviously I mentioned earlier, and we all know Tomori rapid. You know what I mean? He's got the physical capabilities. So I think, yeah, I think that would work well. And then the left centre back slot, I do really like Colwell, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with Maguire just because he's been steady for England. Like
Mm.
he's been solid. I mean, you mentioned kind of the decline you've seen for Stones, and like I know, okay, Maguire didn't play in the Euros, for example,
Mm.
but I haven't really seen that with Maguire, to be honest. Even this season with Man United, when we've been terrible, he's actually been, one of our better defenders. I know that's not very hard with some of the performances we've been putting in,
Mm.
but I haven't really seen too much of a decline in terms of Maguire, and he is someone that is consistent and solid for England. I think with when you're putting out these teams, I think that experience does matter, especially in kind of tournament football as well. He's someone that's been in the England camp for a long time. So yeah, I go Tomori, Maguire, centre backs, and then at left back I'm going with. I start Lewis Hall, because I
Really?
think
Yeah.
I do like Rico Lewis. I think it's a good shout. But I think because I'm starting Rashford, I think Rashford is a lot better when he's got a fullback that can overlap and link up with him. So I'm kind of playing Hall there so that he can connect with Rashford, get up, and yeah, I mean Lewis can do that to be fair, but I don't know, just him not being on his stronger foot, being on the left hand side, I don't know, kind of worried me a bit if I'm gonna be asking him to do that. So I'd start Lewis Hall there to be honest, and then
Fair enough.
yeah, Pickford in goal.
You know what? Now I've thought about it. I think I'm not starting Pickford.
Really?
Yeah,
Who
because I
James
was
Trafford?
nah. I'll go Henderson. Not
Hendo.
gonna lie. Yeah, because I think Trafford. The reason I put Trafford in there is because he's got that experience of the Euros under 21s already. So he has
Yeah.
a relative experience in tournament football already. So that's why I trust him there. But I think Pickford, especially at this last Euros, is
Even shaky to be fair.
yeah, and I feel like it's always been a problem, but I think recently, especially, it's become a bit more prominent. And I feel like his distribution is the one of the things that baffles me so
That's
much
awful. It's
because
awful.
he can kick the ball, like he knows how to kick the ball, but it's just not accurate. Like he panics. He's not composed enough. I think that's the main issue. I feel like he gets the ball, and then like I don't know. There's a lot of times, for example, where you'd see like it would be like Rice or Foden who would be dropping deep to get the ball off Pickford, and they'd come short and be like pointing to their feet like on the edge of the box, and they'd have a man like maybe 5-10 yards behind them, but Pickford would be so scared to play that ball into them that he just wouldn't. Like they would be there and he would just send it long over the top. And obviously Harry Kane's lost his physical sort of the same physical capabilities he used to have. So
Yeah.
he's not going to be chasing the ball down into the channels like maybe Watkins would. So then if he's not in the position already to win the header, it's kind of just a turnover. And he done that so many times throughout. And I don't know. For me, I don't know. I feel like that plus the fact he's been a bit less reliable, like in terms of shot stopping.
Yeah, he's had some mistakes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably go Henderson still. But
Fair
yeah,
enough.
so,
Fair enough.
solid lineup. I can't lie.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, let us know whose lineup you think's better, and who would win in a head to head. Personally, I think I'm taking it, but we'll see. We'll see.
Oh man.
Moving on though, obviously the whole managerial situation has kind of had a bit of a fallback on some of the club football things going on. I mean, we'll start off with City, and we do know that. I mean, it was reported that England did approach Pep Guardiola for the job, and yeah, they would have taken him as their first choice if he would have been willing to go. He has chosen to stay at City. It seems like.
Not confirmed.
Well, for this season anyway, he's not going anywhere right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, talk to me about some of the ongoings at City because yeah, obviously new sporting director in,
Yeah.
Viana from Sporting. So yeah,
Yeah.
talk to me, man.
I have not seen anything like I haven't been studying Viana, but just from looking at him alone, bro, aura. Like he looks like that's my director of football, bro. Like he looks like he knows what he's doing. Nah, but on a real, I can't lie. I've read a few bits and pieces about him, and I think one of the bits that kind of strongly, well, to start with, I read the Athletic article on him today,
Yeah.
and they said that Cheeky had kind of always knew that he wanted to leave, and he planned to leave like 5 years ago, but then he extended because it was going well. He was like, why not? Let's just stay. And then he sort of had been working on it since earlier this year, with the director at Girona. I can't remember his name, but the sporting director at Girona was the main one. But I think he really wasn't trying to leave. He was comfortable where he was at. So the next option was Viana, and Viana was willing to come. So Viana's signed his contract. He's joining in June. I think one thing I read about him was that he likes to, or he prefers to spend big on one player rather than spend small on like a few decent players. And
That's going to be a change
But
from what you guys normally do. I
yeah,
feel like you guys have a lot of like 40, 50 million obviously that's still kind of big, but
yeah.
you don't really go for that big money
Yeah,
signing,
you see,
really.
it's always that's a big thing, and that's something that's something I like because it's something I've complained about a lot. With like, for example, you see the current situation with Rodri out, and we have Nunes who doesn't really play, Kovacic who plays obviously, but it's still like not the same level you need.
Yeah.
And like that's something I've been critical about is that like instead of making these, because one thing obviously we have Pep, so he will make it work. Like he will find a solution, but
Yeah.
still I feel like there's times where we can sign a big money signing rather than signing a few okay players. Like we could sign one big money signing and then have like his backup be an academy player, for example, and that's something I think works. And that's something that they've said that is something he has a tendency to do or likes to do. I'm not sure how true that actually is. Just something I read in the Athletic article, but I saw they're also impressed by the midfielder. I think his name's Hjulmand.
Hjulmand,
Yeah,
yeah,
they were
yeah,
impressed
yeah.
with the signings of him and Gyökeres. So that's also something that kind of caught their eye a bit. But yeah, I'm interested in him, but also with him joining from Sporting and the Pep stuff being up in the air. I think essentially what it is right now with Pep, I think it's just no one really knows for sure, but it's been said that in the coming weeks we're gonna find out whether he's staying or going. And then additionally, if we get with the 115 charges, if we end up getting found guilty, he'll stay. I think that's kind of like the assumption right now is that he'll just try. He doesn't want to like go out and like kind of, I guess, like it's almost like losing a fight type thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like he doesn't want to do it. I feel like he would stay and deal with whatever consequences there are, and at least give one more year and then go. So yeah, I think that's what it is. And then with Viana coming from Sporting, the idea has sort of been floated around a lot that it's going to be Amarim who comes in as the manager. He's sort of the first choice. I think they're looking to Xabi Alonso as well, but I think Amarim is the main target. And it was obviously, I think Amarim would come if we went for him. So yeah, I think right now it's interesting, man. It's interesting. I don't know what's gonna happen for real. I can't lie. I feel like a lot of it kind of hinges on that charges, on that PL case. So yeah, gonna wait and see.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously with kind of with Tuchel being hired for England, for Man United, that kind of takes away one of the options that was rumored as a replacement for Ten Hag. Obviously, we've seen throughout the international break that Ten Hag has kept his job. He's still there, and one of the main names that was kind of floating around, if he were to get sacked, was Tuchel to be one of the candidates for a replacement. There were kind of reports about us having talks with him during the summer. For whatever reason, it didn't really materialize. It's come out that he actually would have been Sir Jim Ratcliffe's first choice candidate. So I don't know whether it's Tuchel rejected us or we didn't come to an agreement with him or whatever. But I mean, England acted swiftly. It came out that they had already agreed with Tuchel from the 8th of October. So, I mean, before the first games of this recent international break. So, I mean, they clearly wanted to act quickly. I don't know if it's maybe because of the Man United managerial situation, but, I mean, they got it done quickly. As you mentioned, with kind of the Man City thing in terms of Amarim being an option in case Pep leaves. I mean, that could have some serious repercussions on Man United, because it's been reported a lot that Amarim is someone that is liked and highly thought of at Man United under Ineos. So, and I mean, with the current state that we're in right now, do you know what I mean? If Pep leaves and it's Manchester City and Manchester United going after Amarim, and Manchester City have his sporting director Viana, like there's only one place he's gonna go realistically. Yeah. So I don't know. In terms of the United situation, I don't know. It doesn't really leave us with too many options in terms of at the top level right now. Even the likes of Alonso, you mentioned as someone as like a backup option for you guys. That's not really someone that would want to come to Man United, especially in the state that we are now and with his ties to Liverpool. And then, yeah, you're kind of unless you can pull something out of the hat and get someone like Inzaghi, manage to pry him away from Inter, you're kind of taking a step down in terms of managerial hierarchy. And you're looking more towards guys like, I don't know, Thomas Frank, Hoeneß at Stuttgart. So I don't know. It's an interesting one for Man United and Ineos. Kind of how this whole managerial scramble has left him. And I mean, Ten Hag's still in the job, so you know, from Ineos's perspective, I guess they're okay with it for now. And yeah, I don't know. They haven't really communicated too much in terms of what's going on with that. So you gotta assume, or you gotta hope as a Man United fan that they have a plan for something in case they do decide to make a change. But yeah, to end off the episode though, we're gonna quickly preview the Liverpool versus Chelsea game this weekend, the biggest Premier League game of the upcoming weekend at Anfield. It's gonna be an interesting game because Liverpool obviously are top of the league right now. They've probably been the best team
Conceded 2 goals
in the league. Yeah, 2 goals conceded so far. It's a joke. Their defense is going crazy. But that being said, they have had the easiest run of fixtures from this point, or from the beginning of the season to this point. I think the team that's in the highest league position that they've faced so far is Nottingham Forest. Obviously, they played Man United, but less said about that, the better. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, big game against Chelsea, and obviously Chelsea under Maresca have surprised a lot of us. I think a lot of people were obviously kind of confused when Poch got the sack after he turned around the end of last season for them. But under Maresca, they have surprised a lot of people, and they've been playing quite well. So yeah, what do you kind of think about this game? What sort of things do you think we could see?
Not gonna lie, I think it'll be more even than I would have expected. Because, bro, I can't lie. I don't know what Maresca's been cooking up with Chelsea, but they look a lot better than I thought they would at this stage. Like, I really thought they would be a mess still, but it feels like they're a bit more, like they're finally getting to that point. Because I remember with Graham Potter, the end of Graham Potter, like the last few games, like the back end of that season, I think he got some decent results, but I think from like maybe January, I think I always felt like if I was gonna bet and it was like Chelsea playing Everton,
Yeah.
I was not sure I'm putting my money on Chelsea. Like no matter what the team they were playing against, I never felt confident there was a win. But I think now with Maresca, they're finally starting to get that thing of, in terms of winning the league, you don't always have to beat the best teams. For example, with us last season, a lot of big games we didn't win.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can beat the smaller teams consistently, I feel like that's what Chelsea have struggled with in the past, and now they're finally getting there where they're going to play against smaller teams and keep winning. And I feel like that, just having that sort of that floor as a team where you can win certain games, that's kind of changed them a bit. And I feel like, I don't know, going into this Liverpool game, it's going to be a lot more like, I expect a bit more of a tactical battle than we would have saw, for example, like last season, which is, I don't know, I'm actually quite interested for that game. I'm gonna sit down and really be locked in for that game because, Liverpool, I kind of thought Liverpool would be good, but I don't know. I feel like this is probably their biggest test so far, I'd say.
Yeah, 100%. I think I think it's gonna be interesting. I think Chelsea could definitely surprise them. I feel like one thing kind of with Liverpool, like structurally anyway, with the way they press in kind of like this 4-2-4 shape. So they have obviously 2 midfielders there, and the way Chelsea kind of build up, they like to drop a lot of players into central areas. They have the right back, whether it be most of the time it's Gusto inverted in there, and then obviously they have Enzo and Caicedo. Enzo normally pushes up or pushes into the wider areas more, and then Palmer, who starts in the 10, kind of drops out into the wider areas as well, but like deeper in midfield. So that could overload Liverpool's kind of defensive shape, and as well, one thing that we've seen as like kind of like a weakness that I mean Slot actually exploited when they beat Man United was the distances that the centre mids have to cover in this 4-2-4 shape, kind of when they have to go out wide to press the players out wide. And I think with Chelsea's kind of, with the way they build up under Maresca, someone like players like Palmer and Enzo dropping into those wide areas and then being able to carry the ball or play passes long into the likes of Jackson, who could be running behind, or Madueke, who's got the pace on the wings, could really hurt Liverpool. Just because of the distances that those guys are going to have to cover. I do think, though, I mean, Liverpool, as we mentioned earlier, they've probably been the best team in the league so far. You know, the likes of Gravenberch and McAllister have been incredible in that midfield, and they definitely are going to cause Chelsea some problems. I think when Liverpool have the ball and they're attacking, you know, Gravenberch and McAllister, and even Szoboszlai. I mean, I'm not his biggest fan, but even Szoboszlai, that midfield three is quite physical, and I think Caicedo is someone that can deal with that, but Palmer and Enzo, I worry that maybe they could be a bit lightweight for that duel, especially at Anfield, where the crowd's gonna be going to be behind, they're gonna be up for it. They could get swarmed in there when Liverpool have the ball, but yeah.
You know what's funny though? I really feel like I'm not sure which way it's gonna be, but I feel like there's gonna be a really crazy like dominant performance from one of the teams.
You reckon?
Because I'm looking through their matches. I have never realized how close Liverpool Chelsea games are usually.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I think it's like three.
Crazy.
I think the last 3 games have been draws, and then there was that period where I think they played each other in FA Cup semi-final and Carabao Cup semi-final, and it was 0-0. Both of those games went to penalties both times. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Chelsea had loads of chances. They should have won both of those games, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, Chelsea, Liverpool in recent years have been quite close.
Yeah, I've got it up here. So they won the EFL Cup game. Their last game was a 1-0 Liverpool.
Okay, yeah.
Then before that, it was 4-1 Liverpool in the league. 1-1 in the league. 0-0 in the league. 0-0 in the league. 0-0 in the cup. Liverpool won on penalties. Liverpool won on penalties again.
Yeah,
11-10 in the Carabao Cup. Then this is back to 2022. 2-2 in the league. 1-1 in the league. 1-0 Chelsea. 2-0 Liverpool. 5-3 Liverpool. 2-0 Chelsea, and then 2-1 Liverpool, and that takes you back to 2019. And it feels like, I don't know, in my head it always felt like the games were going one way or the other. Like it didn't really feel like it was this close. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know, man. It's been
crazy.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating game over the years, to be honest. Both of those teams, they kind of have cancelled each other out. It's been interesting as well, considering all the different coaches Chelsea have had within that time period. You've gone back to 2019 there with the results, but it's still been close, like throughout times with Tuchel, Potter, Poch, even now. Well, we're gonna see now with Maresca. So,
fair as well. To be honest, in terms of that fixture, who would you say is on each team? Who would you say is like maybe not the star performer, but like who do you think is one to watch for that game from each team?
for this game, I would say for Chelsea, I think Madueke could have a good game. On the right, I think because attacking Robertson at left back, I mean Robertson's been better this season than he was last season.
Yeah.
But still, I think physically he's not kind of where he was.
Yeah.
And I know under Slot he's not been pushing forward as much. And they've been a lot narrower when they're building up at the back, keeping the players close together. But I mean, he still does get forward at moments when Liverpool have the ball in the final third. And I think in transition, Madueke, someone like, I mean, I can see maybe something like Palmer, long ball to Madueke, and 1v1 with Robertson, and he could really cause them problems for Liverpool. I mean, Gravenberch has been their standout performer this season for me. And I think he could have another good game in that midfield, as I kind of mentioned earlier, with the physical tools that he has. The way he's we've seen it this season, the way he's just able to shrug off players as he's dribbling, carrying the ball forward. I think, like, if you're matching him up with someone like Enzo, for example, in midfield, like, it could be a long day for Enzo, man. But what do you think? Who do you think are the standouts?
I think it's a bit of a weird one. I think for Chelsea, you could see for Chelsea Caicedo.
He has been very good this season, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like this game is either going to be an amazing performance, because that obviously we mentioned Gravenberch, but Liverpool's press and Liverpool in general, they're like quite a tough team to play against. So I feel like he's either going to really have to come out and show himself, or he's going to gonna have a really bad game. But I back him based on what I've seen so far. I think he'll have quite a good game. Also, think Sancho would have a pretty good game for Chelsea as well. But in terms of for Liverpool, probably Trent.
You reckon?
Yeah, probably Trent. I think Trent has something loaded still. I think. Yeah, I think it's gonna be crazy. I think it's really gonna be crazy. Trent. I don't know. Obviously, we know his quality already, but I think there's gonna be a lot of situations where he'll get the ball in really dangerous areas, especially like high up the pitch rather than inside compared to last season. But yeah, I think Trent will do something.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting one, man. We're definitely going to be locked in for that this weekend. But that's all the time we have for this week. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. And until next week, we are out.
And Carla called me to tell me say them a do a Sunday afternoon brunch. Don't